Hello, and welcome back for another episode of Financial Freedom by 40. My name is Kelly, and I'm one part of the team that has just finished our trip around Australia. So, we are now back home, back in New Zealand, and we've got a little bit of time in our hands to be able to share some of the things we learned doing our big lap of Australia. So, I'm going to, instead of sharing our weekly traveling videos like we have been, I'm going to share a weekly video just sharing some of the things we learned and yeah, like little tips and tricks that we picked up along the way that we can share that will give people a bit of insight into what it's like to travel Australia and some of the things that you need to know. So, in this week's video, I wanted to do a video about what it's like to book for going to Ningaloo. So, I saw a post in a caravanning page and I saw people struggling with the bookings for Ningaloo, and it can be a bit of a struggle. So, I thought I would share our experience of booking for Ningaloo. And hopefully that'll give you a little bit of hope and a little bit of insight into how to make it a little bit easier for you and your family to book your time at Ningaloo. I know it can be frustrating, and if you've been on there already on the booking system and you're finding it hard, have faith. I'm going to give you some really good tips and pointers about how you can make sure you get your time. You'll get there, I promise you. You'll be able to get some time at the Ningaloo, even if it feels really, really frustrating and really, really hard at the start. So, what I want to do is I'll give you a bit of a rundown on our experience of booking for Ningaloo and how we found it. And I'm going to give you, I'll jump onto the website and I'll show you some of the tricks that we learned in doing it. And then I'll give you a bit of a run through of some of the places that we stayed on Ningaloo as well, so that you can get a bit of a feel for what it was like. I can show you some photos of some of the sites that we stayed at so you can see what those particular sites look like. Of course, there's so many amazing sites. You don't have to pick our ones. And yeah, just have a look around, do some research. But often when it comes to it, it's just a matter of getting a booking. It's not about picking the perfect site. We often see posts from different people on social media or on YouTube videos saying, "Oh, we had site 17 and it was amazing." But sometimes when you go to book, you just take what you can get. So let's have a look at the Ningaloo booking system. Let's talk a little bit about the sites that we stayed at. And yeah, hopefully it's going to help you to get your bookings because Ningaloo is amazing. It was definitely a highlight of our lap of Australia, and I'm sure it'll be a highlight of yours as well. Okay, so this is Explore Parks WA. So let's go over to there and have a look at the website. So we've already got a account here, but you'll have to sign up for an account first of all. So we want to go and we want to make a booking. So let's have a look and find a site that we want to go to. Yeah, so this is the website. You're going to put in the campground. So I'm just going to pop in one of our favorites was Osprey Bay. So I'm going to pop that one in there. And I'm going to have a look at some dates that you might be looking at. So, the popular times when we were there at sort of March, April on the Ningaloo coast. So obviously, if you don't know already, this is the Ningaloo coast down here, the Cape Range National Park. Exmouth is here. The Ningaloo Road that you come in on is down this way somewhere. So a lot of people take the Ningaloo Road in. If we have a look here, what have we got? So South Lefroy. So the Ningaloo Road comes in over this way. So to give you a bit of a pointer to the Ningaloo Road, when we were there, the Ningaloo Road was actually closed, but a lot of people were taking it anyway. People were just driving around the closed sign. It seems to be sort of the done thing. I don't know if it's been fixed yet, but it was closed when we went through. We actually didn't go through the Ningaloo Road. We followed the rules. We didn't want to go around the closed sign. And we'd heard that that road could be a bit more gnarly than going the other way. So we actually went all the way up to Exmouth. We stayed a night in Exmouth, I think, before we went around the top and then came back down, and we started at South Lefroy when we did our bookings. So that does mean you have to go over Yardie Creek twice. But I'll talk a little bit about Yardie Creek. I mean, we didn't find Yardie Creek to be particularly troublesome. I was terrified about going over Yardie Creek. So I'd seen lots of YouTubers sharing videos of how dramatic it was crossing there and having to go through water and that kind of thing, getting bogged. We didn't. We spoke to some other travelers when we were waiting in the car park to go over who'd already been over there, and they kind of said just flat foot it, air down your tires, flat footed across the sandy part. There is a bit of a boggy part, or there was when we were there, and we just got through the boggy part and we were off. So no worries either way. We didn't have to go through any salt water. We just drove over the sand. So no problems at all for us crossing Yardie Creek. And that was with a 22.6 foot caravan and a Land Cruiser. So fully loaded family van, and we got through Yardie Creek just fine. So don't fret about that if you're like me and I was having like heart palpitations in the car park about going over there. It will be fine. So anyway, so we started booking south and north, but I'm going to show you just Osprey Bay because was one of our favorites. Okay, so I am going to try a week in April. That's roughly when we were there. So I'm going to do the 5th to the 11th of April. I'm going to go apply. And you can only book up to 180 days out. So if it's beyond that, so if it's more than 180 days, you won't have to wait. You'll have to wait a bit longer. So the way I did it was I just kind of I made a schedule of for Ningaloo. So we knew from what we'd seen on social media and on YouTube, we knew sort of roughly where we wanted to go. We wanted to start from South Lefroy, work our way up back up to Exmouth again. So and the reason we chose South Lefroy was we were going to take that Ningaloo Coast road in before we found out that it was closed. So we'd started from the south, but it didn't matter that we went back down and back up again. That was fine. So yeah, so we decided, okay, we want so many days at South Lefroy, so many days at North Lefroy. We wanted to stay at Windurabandi. We wanted to stay at Osprey Bay. And then, we wanted a few other days at some of the other camps. We weren't too fussed which ones that we booked for. We ended up staying at Kurrajong. I'll talk a bit about the specific campsites later and what we thought of them. But yeah, just take your pick of the sites you want. Make a plan. So I just had an Excel sheet. I had all our dates and days rough, like mapped out from where they would fit into our laps. We knew we'd be arriving on the Ningaloo coast around about this day. And so I went and had a look to see what was available on the website. So here we've got our dates. So it's showing you on a map. So you can see that the red ones, I'm guessing, are the ones that don't have availability. And then if we scroll out a bit, you can see there's some green ones that do. But let's go over here to the grid because I found that the easier way to navigate. So if I go down here, you can see Osprey Bay here. It says we have no availability. And so I kind of freaked out when I started booking and I saw this. Bungara is actually on a map. Bungara is actually really close to Osprey. So it's only, I think it's about 800 meters away from Osprey. So worst case scenario is if you don't get a booking at Osprey Bay, you can try and get a booking at Bungara. That's what we did. We initially couldn't get a booking at Osprey Bay, so we booked at Bungara. But let's have a closer look. So let's click here and go see availability. And we're going to scroll down and we can see here a whole bunch of red campsites. So that looks kind of a bit ominous in the start that we've said it, no availability. We just scroll all the way through and it's all red. And we go, we really wanted to go to Osprey. But so what you do then, so you can start going over here, this check availability thing. So this is what I did. So you can hover over. So those ones are all fully booked. Oh, look, so Sego. So number 4 has availability from the 5th to the 7th. So just like you can make a note of that number 4 has availability from the 5th to the 7th, and then check some of the other ones. You can also look up the map. So is the map, yeah, if you go campground map, it'll load that up. Okay, so I can have a look. I can go over here and I can say, okay, campground 4, that's got from the 5th to the 7th, that's got availability. So I'll go have a look. Where's number 4? Okay, so that's over here. That's not too bad. I think I'll have to double check. I think we were about here, about 35 or 36. I'll check shortly and let you know. But so yeah, so you can think, okay, so 4 doesn't seem too bad. So let's have another look and see if there's any others that look pretty good. So check availability. No, no. But just keep going through. Honestly, I just kept going through every single one. And also don't give up on your first time if you don't see any green, because you might come back tomorrow and somebody's changed their booking and they'll be green. So just checking. There's probably, if we're lucky, we might find some other green ones. It's looking pretty busy on these dates, but let's just keep going. So, I mean, it's a bit tedious, but this is what I did. I mean, who knows if there's a better way than this, but this is what worked for us. So going through, check, check, check. Okay, check. Doesn't look too hopeful. So what I would do, or this is what I did, I go, okay, so awesome. There are some days, okay, I can't get a whole week at Osprey, but then I'm going to go back and change my filter date. So I'm going to say here, check availability, 5th to the 7th, and I'm going to go over here and change this. I'm just going to go the 5th to the 7th. It's actually 5th to the 8th. I'll try the 5th to the 8th because it might be 3 nights we can get. Okay, apply. And then there we go. So we can see that campground 4, check availability now, that has 3 days. So the 5th, the 9th, so the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th, checking out on the 8th. So you don't have the 8th on there. So you just put the 5th to the 8th up here. 2 adults, change it to your number of children. So if you've got children, so 2 adults, add 2 children, close, put in your equipment. So we've got a caravan and a car. And then, yep, so that's all still available, 120. I can go book now. And I'm not going to sign in and show you, but you can then sign in and you can make payment with your credit card and then the booking will be in the system. So yeah, so that's how you sort of go through and book that. And you can just keep You could just keep doing that for the dates until you get it available. So you might go, okay, well, Osprey, what I might do now is I'll go Bangara and say that was that same week. So let's go have a look for that same week in April. And was I think it was the 5th to the 11th. Apply. And I'm going to go back. Okay, so Bangara, see availability. Let's check that because you never know your luck. You might find that actually, so there you go. The 8th and 9th is available on campsite 2 at Bangara. So like I say, it's about 800 meters away. So if you want a little bit of extra time at Osprey, you can do that. You can go over to Bangara for a couple of days. Or the 9th and the 10th is available. So if you can find the 8th somewhere else, you can get some extra days at Bangara. So it's really close to Osprey. So that's kind of how I did. I just kept going around, shuffling the dates around. And then until I filled in my whole calendar. Sure, it meant sometimes we spent like maybe we wanted to spend 3 nights at this campground, we ended up spending four. Maybe we want to spend 7 nights at this one, we ended up spending five. But we did just whatever we could do to fill in our whole calendar. We went through it over and over again like that until we got all of our dates booked in. So yeah, don't fret immediately if you don't see the dates you want straight away. Now, the other thing about that too was that we didn't get all the dates we wanted in all the right places. So we booked just other campgrounds that were nearby. If I go over to the map, let me search again. So if I go quit, we'll start again. So if I go and I search Osprey again, and I'll do those same dates. So we'll do April 5th to the 11th, apply. And let's have a look here. So what this one here has availability. What's this one? So click on this one. So 1K. Okay, so we had a situation. So 1K is 1K from Yardie Creek. So it's actually the southern side of Yardie Creek. We were supposed to be going straight from Windrobandi up to Osprey or Bangara, and we had a day available where I couldn't fill it in at Windrobandi and I couldn't fill it in at Bangara or Osprey. So I booked at 1K. That's probably not really the best camp to stay. We didn't end up staying there. We just whipped past it in the end because we managed to get an extra day at Osprey. So it didn't matter. But you can see there is an option there. Or if you went through some of the other campgrounds that are near to Osprey Bay, um, you can go along here and have a look and see what else there is. So this is the one the other side. If I can zoom that out a bit, this camp here. This is fairly close to Osprey too. So this is the one that is at Yardie Creek. So this is the northern side of Yardie Creek. And we might be able to find a day. You just have to go through and have a look and find a day if you can't get. See, there we go. We've got some days there. So maybe if you couldn't get the exact dates you wanted, you could book a night at Yardie Creek just to tie you over. That one's the highway side. So when you look at the Ningaloo coast map, where am I going? I'll go back and I'll just go Osprey again. So in case you're not familiar with the area, so the road actually ends here. So this is Yardie Creek here. And the sealed road ends at this car park here. So this is where you air your tires down to cross over Yardie Creek. And then this is the unsealed four-wheel drive only road, the other side of Yardie Creek. But this part is sealed all the way around to Exmouth. It's a great road. So it's you don't have to fret. I mean, and if you don't have a four-wheel drive vehicle, you can just camp entirely on the sealed part. So this is one of the things I was really nervous about Ningaloo because there was so much four-wheel driving and sand driving involved. If you really wanted to, you could just not do any. Or if you're really nervous about towing the caravan through the sand, you could just book all your caravan days above Yardie Creek and then just drive the car. You'd have no worries at all driving backwards and forwards across Yardie Creek with just your four-wheel drive. If you wanted to, just do day drives down to some of the other camps further down and have a look further down. So that's an option as well. So coming back to the booking. So if you can't get the bookings that you want straight away, try and just book anything that you can to fill a day as we are on the Ningaloo, even if it means that you have to move around. So sometimes you might find that you can book like those Osprey. I'll try another camp, but if I try, say, I'll try Windrobandi and see availability those same dates. So if we go over here and have a look at Windrobandi and check their availability. Again, it looks pretty full already for Windrobandi because we're already well within the dates, the 6-month window, 180 days. So we might find Windrobandi is one of the harder ones, like Osprey, to get bookings. So you might go through it and find this one might not, we might not work here, but what you can do is you can see if you can get, say they might have the 5th, 6th, and 7th, for example, they might have, say they have availability on, what is this one? Site 25. And then you can go through the other sites and you can see if there's availability other days. So it doesn't mean you have to move sites, you have to set up and then move after a couple of days, but at least once again, at least you've got your sites. So we did have that when we initially booked. We found some sites where we had to book, say, campsite 45 for 3 days and campsite 47 for 3 days to be able to get the days that we wanted all together. That's fine. We just accepted that we would have to move and reset up after a few days. At least we had a date book in. And then what we found actually is that closer to the time, so some of our bookings I tried to change. So I might have had 2 days here, 2 days here. And then I was able to close to the time. I just kept checking back every few weeks. And then there were times where I could merge those together onto one site. So that was pretty cool. And then it meant that we didn't have to worry about moving the caravan, which I would definitely recommend. If you can avoid moving it, particularly on the ones, doesn't matter so much on the ones north of Yardy Creek, but South Lefroy, North Lefroy, and Windurabandi. I mean, my preference personally would be to not have to drag the caravan through the sand because you've just got more opportunities to get bogged. But if you don't mind getting bogged, then that's okay. We got bogged on a 45-degree day at North Lefroy, and that wasn't too much fun. So I'd rather try and avoid moving on those sandy sites. But yeah, you can just do what you can. And then what we found was that actually, even closer to the time, like we didn't get a booking for Osprey Bay until 3 weeks before arriving. So I had to try to do all of our bookings 180 days out or thereabouts. And I just kept going back because Osprey was one I really wanted to go to because there's so many beautiful turtles there. And I just kept trying and just kept trying, and I couldn't get a booking for Osprey. Managed to get, I think, 5 nights it was at Bangara. So we just accepted that we'd have to just drive or walk over to the beach. We wouldn't be set back from the beach, but close, still close. Close enough to the beach. I'll just stop the share for now. And we were kind of comfortable with that. So we thought, oh well, that's just is what it's going to be. But we ended up actually, I checked 3 weeks before we arrived at Ningaloo, and 4 of the 5 nights were available at Osprey on an amazing site right close to the beach. So we were totally soaked. We were able to change our booking. There wasn't even a fee, I don't think, for changing it because it was, within the time windows that you were able to make changes. I think you can make changes up until the day you arrive, I think it is, so that you can change the day before. I think it might be 24 hours, but you can change the bookings, change the sites almost until you arrive. So we had a similar thing with Windurabandi. So we booked on to North Lefroy. We didn't really like the site, or we weren't a huge fan of the North Lefroy camp actually, but we booked 3 nights at North Lefroy. One of those days we had friends staying over at Windurabandi, so we thought we'd pop over and say hi to them and check out our site because our next place to stay after North Lefroy was Windurabandi. And so we went to have a look, and we decided that our site at Windurabandi wasn't really going to be suitable. We had one of what people have told me are the premium sites on the point, but there were some extremely high tides. Even though we did check the tides, there just happened to be really, really high spring tides when we were there, and there was water over the point. So we didn't feel too comfortable about trying to get the caravan up there. And also it was really hot and really dry, and the sand was incredibly soft. So we watched somebody else try and get their caravan up there, and they just got bogged and bogged and bogged and ended up moving their caravan to a site closer to the entranceway. So ultimately that's what we decided to do. We had a look over there. While we were there, we could see there were a couple of empty sites that were close to the entrance road, and we went on the website, logged on to Starlink, because there is very limited internet connection anywhere on the Ningaloo coast. And we managed to find a site that had availability for that whole period that we were supposed to be booked at Windurabandi, and actually an extra day. So because we didn't like North Lefroy, we cancelled our last night at North Lefroy. We didn't get our money back on that one, but because it was too close. And then we moved over to Windurabandi, which we absolutely loved. And we had friends staying there with kids. The kids had a fantastic time. Windurabandi and like I said, Osprey were definitely our favourites. Windurabandi. Let me take you over. I've done a blog post on this as well where I've shared some details. So financialfreedomby40.com. Have a look under our Aussie Big Lap file there. I've also linked all the maps for the campsites there. I mean, you can get them easily on the park's website. Okay, so let me take you through the campgrounds that we stayed at. And so far, I've just been talking about the ones that are north of so South Lefroy and north. Though there are some other ones I'll talk about too. So South Lefroy, we really enjoyed South Lefroy. This is the South Lefroy map. So the sites that people kind of consider, people have their idea of what they think are the premium sites. So the ones that people think are the premium sites are these ones down here, sites 5 through to 12. So this is the road in. There is a dump point there, but no water at South Lefroy. This part here, you can't drive on the beach. Around here, you can. There's a boat ramp just over here, and we were camped up over here near the boat ramp. So I think we were 37 just over here. So if I take you back to our photo, you can see the beautiful, beautiful spot. Like we loved our spot. No complaints there whatsoever. But yeah, these are the ones that are the favored ones, these ones down here. This is a beautiful location, and the sites along here, you are right on the beach. We did have friends who stayed down here, and they said it was quite boggy getting through this part. And I think they had to drive through salt water to get through here. It was quite, the tides were still really high when we were there, so I think this was still pretty wet. But and this wasn't a great track either. This one from the camp host along was not when we were there. I mean, it changes constantly, so it could be perfect now. But these were beautiful sites, and we did drive along here and take the car and park up down here. We were told by the camp host that 5 to 12 off there is where the best snorkeling is. And it is kind of does work a bit like a drift snorkel. So we kind of got in here and floated all the way back around. Ryan ended up driving the car back, and the kids and I just floated around, and it took us all the way back to our side. The snorkeling's pretty good. It's not amazing, but it's pretty good. And one of the things we liked about this was that there was snorkeling really close to the beach. You could just swim out off the beach and snorkel. We found some of the best snorkeling. There were some really nice coral bommies just out sort of this area, a reasonable way from the shore. Um, our kids are fairly confident swimmers, so we swam quite far out. But there were still fish, pretty close to the shore, and, beautiful swimming as well, really close to the shore. We felt really safe, really, really beautiful weather, and yeah, really enjoyed it there. And yeah, we found it nice snorkeling pretty much all the way along here, which is different to some of the other camps where there wasn't so much snorkeling close to the beach. So we probably like we stayed 3 nights on South Lefroy. We probably could have stayed a couple more nights there. It was pretty nice. And when we were there, it was sort of just at the end of fire ban season. So I think it was the first time for a long time we were able to have a campfire, which was kind of exciting. And yeah, so that's South Lefroy. So then let me show you. You can read the blog post for all of my like real nitty-gritty details. Now, this is North Lefroy. Now, North Lefroy looks beautiful. I've seen so many amazing videos of North Lefroy, and you can see even from the photo that it looks pretty nice on at North Lefroy. So we were a little bit disappointed. So we had site 14 at North Lefroy, and it was very, very soft. So we arrived there. It was a 45-degree day. We were in the middle of a heat wave. The camp host said to us some of the sites down the end where we were had gone really soft. It was like a sand dune. And so we did really battle. You can't see it from this photo, but the turn in is quite tight. So it's kind of like a 90-degree angle. So with a large van, it was difficult to navigate in. And then this patch from kind of here through to where the van's parked was really quite soft. We kind of probably didn't have the best choice to go, and we came in through this way. So there's a path down this way. There's sort of 3 routes in. There's one this way, and then the one we actually ended up coming in. We came up this one, which was, yeah, maybe not the best choice. We had to sort of go forward here and then try and reverse back, and it was so soft through the part where the van is. We were trying to position it in here so that we had a nicer view, but we just gave up in the end. We got bogged so many times. It took us 2 hours to get from about here through to here, and in 45 degrees, it wasn't fun. So that was our spot. When we were there, the angle of wind was blowing in on it. It was blowing heaps and heaps of weed in. So all through here was weedy, and it wasn't nice to swim. There was sort of a clear patch. You can kind of see up the beach a little bit further where it wasn't quite as weedy. But where we were, the water was quite yuck. We did sort of swim in the tiny little strip. It was very shallow because it was so hot. Once we got the van all parked up, we went swimming along this sort of narrow strip. But the water wasn't nice. It was quite murky. Not what I've seen on the videos of North Lefroy. So yeah, we were a bit disappointed, and it was a bit windy. Plus there was no snorkeling. The water was, yeah, with all the weed and um the sort of murkiness of the water, it wasn't a good spot for snorkeling, and we didn't have a boat. We did notice lots of people here at North Lefroy did have boats, and the reef's a little bit further out at North Lefroy. So have I got the North Lefroy map linked here? doesn't look like I do, but the north, yeah. So there is a boat ramp. I think it's this bit just up here. Lots of people were boating out from here. So I think maybe if you've got a boat, maybe it's a good option. And this is Windarabandi Point you can see in the distance. So North Lefroy is really close to Windarabandi, which was one of the reasons why it was literally, I think, 10 minutes drive around, even with the caravan, to Windarabandi. So not a big deal for us to move over to Windarabandi. And so next one, Windarabandi is beautiful. Like this is us, I think down here. We had friends camped up next to us, friends camped up down here as well. So amazing, beautiful family vibes at Windarabandi. There were heaps of people who were camped up with kids. Our kids made lots of friends. So here's the campground map. I'll show you the campground map as well. Yeah, and everybody makes friends. Everybody sort of has, eating together, kids playing together. We had people who took the kids out for a spin on their boat, had a beautiful, beautiful time here. So we were down here, I think, did I say what camp we were on? One of these ones in here, 35 or 36, around about this area here. And this was, yeah, we were really happy with this. The road in can be a bit boggy through here, but not too bad. This piece of road from 27-ish up towards the point can get very soft. We took the car up there. We did get bogged even just with the car. So we were very pleased we didn't have to tow the caravan all the way up to up in here where we had booked. But this is beautiful. Like, if you're happy to take on the challenge, this is a stunning spot to be. And the great thing too for if you do camp up here, this is the closest point to the reef, up off sort of where site one is. The closest point to the reef is sort of up here near where it says Windarabandi. So what we did was we paddleboarded along the beach and then out as close as we could. We had fantastic weather. It was flat, calm. So we paddled out towards the reef and got quite close and did some good snorkeling up here. The snorkeling off the beach down this way, there isn't very much to see. There's not much coral in this sort of open bit here. And the reef is a long way out. We had friends who took boats out from here because the launching ramp, I think, just here between 28 and 29. And they said it was amazing out on a boat, and you could go and stop up by some of the coral bommies out further. So, but we did find it good snorkeling with a paddleboard just out here. You just have to be a little bit careful because it is quite exposed. So you wouldn't want to do it on a rough day or anything like that. And yeah, we felt like it was better for one of us to stay on the paddleboard. There were quite a few boats whipping through here, so just so that we were visible. One or two of us stayed on the paddleboard so at a time, so it was safe. But yeah, there was good snorkeling out there. And we did see quite a bit of wildlife, even just paddleboarding out here. Dolphins came through. We didn't see them, but somebody else while we were there managed to film some manta rays swam straight past our site. So we missed them, unfortunately, but they had their drone up and they saw the manta rays swimming up through this bay here. So beautiful wildlife. You can fish off the beach down this end. We were fishing off the beach. We caught a few fish, nothing too big, but we did enjoy this camp a lot. So highly recommend Windarabandi. And if I go back to here, so yeah, so Windarabandi, then after Windarabandi, it was just so hot. We cancelled our last night at Windarabandi. Again, we didn't get our money back because we cancelled it too close to the end. But we decided to whip back around to Exmouth. We needed more water. So it's not that big of a deal either to whip back to Exmouth to get water or supplies, especially if you leave your caravan behind, it's pretty easy. From the other side of Yardie Creek, it's not too hard to get back to Exmouth. So one thing that we kind of we packed everything we needed for basically 3 or 4 weeks on the Ningaloo coast, but we didn't really need to do that because it wasn't that hard really to go back to get water or supplies from Exmouth. And considering it's fairly remote, the prices in Exmouth aren't horrific. So bear that in mind. If you've got a water bladder or anything and you've got the ability to decant that into your caravan, you could go back and get more water. And we did see other people doing exactly that, taking water bladders back and getting more water from Exmouth if you were staying a bit longer on the Ningaloo coast. So yeah, don't fret about the remoteness. I think it's made out to be like really hard to get supplies and things in, but it's not as bad as you might think. So you can work that. We didn't, except for that trip round to Exmouth. We spent the first block down south of Yardie Creek, went back to Exmouth, stayed a night, get some air conditioning, fill up with water, And then we went back around and down to Osprey Bay. Yeah, I think Osprey Bay was our favorite purely because of the amazing turtles. I don't think we swam one time without seeing a turtle. So if you like turtles, make the most of the time at Osprey Bay. I loved it. Like I could have spent the entire day in the water, just floating around, looking at all the beautiful turtles there. There isn't a huge amount of other sea life. I mean, there's some fish and things, but the turtles are definitely the highlight there. There's beautiful sort of seagrass meadows there. The turtles come in and feed there. Yeah, this is us over here, 35. It was a good site. It was quite nice because there was a beautiful little picnic area in here with a couple of tables and it's all paved. All of these roads, these are all sealed. And the sites are sort of like brushed gravel, very compacted, so easy access for a caravan into Osprey. There's a day use area, so if you're at Bungaroo, you can come and park over here. Oh, there's the boat ramp. So yeah, you can park up there. It does get very packed through here, especially if there's someone with a trailer parked in here. But there is some limited car parking. So if you get over at Bungaroo, which is kind of just up this entry exit road here, you can park up there or you can walk through from Bungaroo. But yeah, this was a good site. 35 was good. We had friends who are down here. These ones are probably better, even better because you were just straight on the path down, but we could sort of cut through the bushes over to the path and down as well. And we enjoyed some sunset drinks and dinner over here on this little table, looking out over here. The sunsets out there are stunning. Beautiful, beautiful sunsets. So make the most of your time at Osprey Bay because it's stunning. Um, Bungaroo, yeah, like I said, when it was one night at Bungaroo, it was really just a place to sleep. Not a great outlook or anything from the site, but it does give you the option to be close to Osprey if you can't get in at Osprey Bay campground. So the next one we stayed at was Kurrajong. We didn't exactly rate Kurrajong. Again, it was a good place to stay. It was sheltered. So I think the advantage of Kurrajong is if it's windy, you are behind the dunes. So we were over here, it's like 24. The dunes are all through this strip along here. So there isn't a view from the sites over to the beach. The beach is fairly narrow on this side. And when we were there, it was windy. So the dunes did protect us from the wind. So we were fine camped up over here. But the water was a bit choppy, and it was sort of like I don't know, a bit murky because of the waves. So we didn't see an awful lot through here. Um, we went snorkeling a couple of times through here. There's a little bit of beach for the kids to play on, but not as nice as Osprey Bay or the ones south of Yardie Creek. So yeah, again, if you can't get in anywhere else, I wouldn't be like put off going here. There was some good spots. There were some good spots to go fishing. Like my husband and the kids went fishing along the beach here, and they did actually catch some fish here. So there's that option as well. This map here at the information centers nearby, you can get hard copy of this, but it's quite good to have because it shows you all the campsites and the rules and regulations around. It's color coded to show the areas you can fish and you can't fish. Marks out all of the actual campsites. So if I just, yeah, I'll zoom in on one of these ones. We zoom in it a bit, you can probably see. So yeah, so some of the cool things that you'll probably want to see while you're there. So the oyster stacks is beautiful snorkeling. We enjoyed oyster stacks. Turquoise Bay is pretty good snorkeling. It's a beautiful, beautiful beach. So a good place to go and hang out for the day with the kids. There's it's a good snorkeling. Note there though, there is a dangerous current there, so it is very strong. So be careful for that. It's not dangerous in the sense that you can get out before you get to the current part, but there's a big opening in the reef out here. And so you sort of hop in the water and you go along to near the point and then you get out again. But you want to be a bit careful there, especially with kids. But yeah, we stayed at Kurrajong over here, and North Kurrajong is actually, well, when we were there, it was closed. So I think there was a school camp on there. I don't know if you can actually book there at other times, but we stayed at Kurrajong. Again, see, it's not far from Osprey. So if you can't get into Osprey, it wasn't very far to drive. I can't remember how long it took us, but it's not very far to drive around there. It might have been 10 minutes from, so yeah, don't fret if you can't get in at certain camps because you can drive around. The distances aren't too far. Apparently there's a nice walk up Mandu Mandu Gorge. Friends of ours did that and it looked beautiful. Our kids didn't want to do it. We'd already done too much walking apparently. So you can do that. But yeah, so oyster stacks in Turquoise Bay, easily accessible from Kurrajong, which is what we did. And yeah, the Discovery Centre is kind of cool. So we stopped in there on our way down to South Lefroy to have a little look and see if there's any information. There's some cool information booklets and fish identification guides, etc. you can buy there, and a little bit of information for the kids, not a huge amount, but you can get brochures and things there. Mesa Camp looks okay. We didn't stay there. That was one of the ones we would have stayed at as well. But yeah, this we found this map quite helpful to tell you what was where and what you were allowed to do in the different areas as well. Um, so in terms of other camps, those are the main ones that we stayed at. But I thought I'd just quickly touch upon some of the other ones that there are on the Ningaloo coast. So the 14 mile. So 14 Mile, Brubadew, and the Ningaloo Caravan Park. So I'll touch on the Ningaloo Caravan Park first. So there's a couple of caravan parks. There's an I think it's RAC Caravan Park in Ningaloo. People really like that one. We didn't stay there. We said the Ningaloo Caravan Park was beautiful, beautiful pool, good facilities, large campground, lots of sites. But they do book out really far in advance. We did book this quite a long way in advance. I think I might have even booked it when the 180 days out when I booked um parks and recreation, the WA parks bookings. So yeah, we tried to extend our booking and we couldn't. So when we were there anyways, but we did end up booking a couple of extra days those nights where we whipped over back from Exmouth, back to Exmouth from Windorabandi, and we did book an extra one earlier on when we came up the coast. So you might be lucky, but definitely book in if you want to block a time in Exmouth, which I do recommend. Book it well in advance because those sites do book out. And we did the whale sharks from Exmouth. So we did our whale shark tour. We were picked up from the campground and did a tour with Three Islands whale sharks. Recommend them as well. They're amazing. But we did that from Exmouth. So we did actually wish we had a few more days. We probably could have spent maybe 6 or 7 days in Exmouth because we didn't get the opportunity to really explore around Exmouth. It was sort of a bit of a reset for us, get all our washing up to date. So we did feel like we missed out a little bit because we couldn't extend our booking and stay longer in Exmouth. There was just no accommodation anywhere. We did try and have another look and see if we could book another site then at maybe Mesa or Kurrajong or one of those, so we could just get a little bit more time in the area, but we just couldn't. There was nothing. So book more rather than less. I mean, yeah. And then the other two, 14 Mile was cool. Like we think again, 14 Mile is another one of those camps that I'll show you on the map, 14 Mile and Brubadew. So 14 Mile, again, we struggled with the bookings for 14 Mile. We couldn't get one on the beach. 14 Mile is popular for the um the beach camps. Again, it's another one we can go right onto the beach to camp. Now, Coral Bay is beautiful. We really liked Coral Bay. There's all sorts of snorkeling tours, boat tours go out from Coral Bay. Um, and so you can stay in Coral Bay. There's resorts and campgrounds in Coral Bay. It's quite a lot more expensive camping at Coral Bay than it is staying at the campsites that are the national parks campsites. But I would recommend staying in Coral Bay because it is beautiful. It is an easy launching point to go out and do one of the tours out to the reef there. And they do some amazing. We met some people who did a tour out to the reef. The snorkeling is much better out off the reef. Unfortunately, there's a lot of coral bleaching around Coral Bay. So there is snorkeling from the beach in Coral Bay, and it's nice. We had a close encounter with a hammerhead shark in Coral Bay, which was a bit of excitement. It was trying to chase a stingray and came straight past us, which was a little scary and a little exciting at the same time. But yeah, you can go out and do manta ray tours out from there, which somebody told us were just amazing. So we didn't book in for that. We missed out on that one. Didn't know about it till too late. But 14 Mile Camp is down here. So we stayed at 14 Mile Camp. And yeah, there's a series of sites right along the beach there. People love them. You can fish off the beach. Loads of people with boats go out fishing off out to the reef with boats from there. We obviously didn't have a boat, so didn't do that, and we couldn't get a site right on the beach. This is the map of 14 Mile. So these are the real premium sites at this one, 14 through to 28. We these sites were just really booked out. These ones are quite good too, apparently. And then there's another campground just over from 14 Mile. So I come down here. I think it's the Ridge, maybe. The Ridge, yeah. So 14 Mile and the Ridge are right beside each other. So if you can't get a booking at 14 Mile for some reason, try the Ridge because that's quite a nice little campsite. There's good fishing off the Ridge. We went fishing just out in front of the Ridge. There are also a couple of others just go down. There's a couple of others just near there too. What were these ones? Overflow. So yeah, there's these ones down here too. There's a couple. Sandy Point. Yeah, I haven't checked those ones out, so I don't know. But I know that we drove through to have a look at the ridge, and that would have been great as well. There's a smaller number of campsites there, but would have been perfect if we couldn't have gotten it 14 Mile. Yeah, so we ended up getting one of these sites. I think it was 29 here. So it was close to, there's a walkway through to the beach here. Again, this is quite good if it's a bit windy. There's a big sort of hill behind. Well, there's these sites here, and there's a big hill up here. There's a beautiful view up the hill. So we walked up the hill with our chairs and a glass of wine and sat up here and had watched the sunset up there, which is really nice. 29 is protected. There's a dune sort of through here. It's very protected. We found that 14 Mile wasn't too hard to access at all. It wasn't as soft as some of the other ones. The road in was a little bit gnarly, but they're all a little bit gnarly coming into Ningaloo. Definitely four-wheel drive. So we liked this. We actually quite like this site. It's sandy still, but not super soft. These ones could be quite soft, and the turnaround is quite hard here. So if you go along, if the tide's in, there's not much turnaround space. So ideally, you want to sort of come in, turn around and park so that you can just tow straight back out and up the access way. There is a turnaround spot down here, and it was very boggy. We saw a few people get stuck trying to come down and turn around because it was so soft just down this end. So if you came in this way and kept facing that way, you had to go down this way, turn around and come back. So it was a bit trickier to get out from these ones. We had no trouble getting in and out of 29, and it didn't really bother us too much that we had to walk over the dunes. You can fish off here. Yeah, like I say, we walked down and we fished off the ridge, and we did catch a couple of fish off there, made ourselves some fish and chips. So that was kind of cool as well. Yeah, we liked 14 Mile, but we felt like it was probably best for someone with a boat. The beach is a beautiful swimming beach. And we found it was a kind of funny thing there. Like people when we first got there, we got there sort of later in the afternoon, around about 3 o'clock-ish maybe. And we parked up and it was really hot, went to go for a swim. And we got down to the beach. Nobody else was swimming. We thought it was really weird considering it was so hot. Got in the water, went for a swim. But somebody told us, oh, there's a 4 o'clock shark. And weirdly enough, at 4 o'clock, pretty much every day, this shark swims along the beach. Don't know if he's still there, but he was there when we were there. So kind of seemed to know the time. Maybe it's when the boats come in and you can get some tidbits or something from the boaties. But yeah, it's a great camp, 14 Mile. But just north of Coral Bay, is it on this one? Oh, here we go, is Dew Point. Now, this campground is, I can't remember the name of the organization, but it's operated by an Aboriginal corporation. It's no longer within the parks management. We did not like this camp. So the road in, again, was pretty gnarly. Probably one of the more gnarly access roads on the Ningaloo coast. And again, it could have changed, could have been graded since we went there, but it was not great when we went in. The campground itself, there was supposed to be a camp host. There was no camp host when we were there. So it was kind of a bit of a free-for-all, although they said just park up wherever, um, what I think the instructions were kind of like just find a place if there's no host. So that's what we did. We didn't find it was a good campground at all. The water was really murky when we were there. So because we didn't have a boat, there was no way to get out to the reef. The water wasn't nice to even swim, really. So we were booked in for 3 nights there. We stayed two. Again, it was really, really hot. We ended up bailing out and going to Exmouth and staying in the caravan park. So yeah, definitely not our favorite campground, but other people have had a better experience. I think it's worth knowing that it's got its limitations. Definitely carefully check the reviews, because we looked at the reviews and people had commented saying it's a great alternative to staying at Coral Bay. It's cheaper than the campgrounds at Coral Bay. You're not squished in like sardines, etc. It wasn't for us. We would have rather have stayed in at one of the more expensive campgrounds, even if it meant being squished in. We would have been walking distance into Coral Bay. We could have popped into the pub. There was nothing at Dew. There were very few people staying there. I think if you can't get anywhere else, maybe use it as an option, because it is only about a 30-40 minute drive through to Oyster Bay from Dew. But we would have preferred to have stayed at Oyster Bay. So yeah, that's Ningaloo booking. If you have any questions, make sure you let us know, because we are more than happy to answer. If I've missed anything, do go over to the website and have a look at the blog post, because I've written it all down there and put links to the maps in there, links to the park's website in there. But yeah, if you get stuck, either message us on social media. We're Financial Freedom by 40 on Instagram and Facebook, and can give you some other pointers about helps if you have any questions about specific sites. then feel free to let us know about that as well. Otherwise, best of luck booking for Ningaloo. You will have an amazing time. It is a beautiful, beautiful location. Um, and enjoy yourselves because it is what you think it's going to be. It's one of those places where you just don't know. You see the stuff on Instagram and you wonder if it's for real, you wonder if it's edited. Its natural beauty is just amazing. So have fun and hope it was helpful. And if you enjoyed this, make sure to hit subscribe. We're trying to grow our little channel, and we'll definitely have some more YouTube videos. And if you want to see what we've done, what we actually did on our lap, go back and have a look. We've got a whole year's worth almost of episodes of our travels. In the blog post, I have actually linked the Ningaloo experience, the videos that we made 3 videos when we were in Ningaloo, so you can go have a look at the things that we did there. But I'll probably also do another video, maybe just yeah, sharing some more information about the things we did in the time we had at Ningaloo. So that's it for me, and I hope to see you again soon.